Hello everyone, it's Hunter. Welcome to my channel. He was a physician, an eminent specialist. She, the model suburban mother, pitching in at her children's Camarillo school and pouring herself into activities at church. To most who knew them, Xavier and Socorro Caro were a couple enjoying the fruits of hard work, faith, and family in a $1 million hilltop home. But if anything, their story illustrates that even the iron gates of the most lavish estates can open wide for sadness, betrayal, and deadly rage. Santa Rosa, Spanish for Saint Rose. It's a city in California. Santa Rosa is the largest city in California's Wine County and Redwood Coast. This picturesque city is well known for its wine and lively culture. And nestled in the hills in a $1 million valley home was a family of 6. The wife Socorro Caro and husband Xavier Caros and their 4 children. Joey, who was 11, Michael, who was 8, Christopher, who was 5, and their baby Gabriel, who was 1. Cora had been a nursing student when she and Xavier married in 1984, but she quit to become his office manager. Xavier was a physician, a prominent rheumatologist, and had a practice in Northridge. The medical practice was hugely successful. However, at some point, Xavier discovered his practice was in debt because Cora was funneling money to her aging parents, Greg and Juanita Leon, and in essence, she'd stolen $100,000 from him. In August 1999, bill collectors and office landlords sent notices of past due payments that had been mounting during the previous months. Cora was in charge of paying those bills, and instead of paying them, she used Xavier's income to support her parents. When Xavier found this out, he fired his wife Cora, and her assistant Lisa later took over the role as office manager. Cora was an alcoholic. She was also depressed. She probably needed some type of hospitalization, but she and Xavier believed she could control her behavior at home, which is ironic considering her medical experience. However, Xavier put her on Prozac. To add to this, Xavier began a brief affair that same month of August with a woman who worked at his office. Yet, Cora's troubles did not end there. She also discovered that her husband had gone to a divorce attorney, and she thought he was planning on leaving her and leaving the kids destitute. However, after she confronted Xavier, he explained to her that if they were going to divorce, he'd legally have to support their children and she'd get half of their assets. During that tumultuous time, Cora confided in her former personal assistant, Lisa. Lisa and Cora had become friends when Cora worked for her husband Xavier. She confided in Lisa that she felt her husband was going to divorce her and leave her and the children penniless. Meanwhile, Xavier also spoke with Lisa, and he expressed doubts about the future of his marriage, and he said he wasn't happy. Ultimately, the couple's 13-year marriage began a serious decline in August. 1 month later, September 1999, Cora calls Lisa sitting on her bed with a gun at her side, and she tells her that she wanted to kill herself. She's saying, "Sometimes I think it would just be better if I wasn't here." Later, Lisa told Xavier about his wife's call, to which she responded, "Maybe I should get the guns out of the house." He didn't. 2 months later, 3 out of the 4 Caro children were shot to death. on November the 22nd, at 11:21 p.m., a 911 call from the family's Santa Rosa Valley home was made. Hours before that, at 6 or 6:30 p.m., Xavier and Cora had some dinner together and they drank margaritas. Joey, their eldest son, made a negative comment about his parents drinking. Now, this caused an argument between Cora and Xavier over how to discipline their son. Xavier removed the TV and video game system from Joey's room as punishment. However, they continued to argue, and their argument went from how to discipline their son to their relationship. Cora accused Xavier of no longer loving her and not respecting her. In the heat of this argument, Xavier decided he's going to leave, so he gets in his car and he drives off to his Northridge office, which is about 15 minutes away from the house. While at his office, and after an airy phone call from Cora, in which she paid him an unusual compliment, saying, "That's the thing about you, see. You always know the difference between right and wrong." Xavier drives back home to make the horrifying discovery. When he enters his house, it is quiet. But when he enters the master bedroom, he finds Cora in a semi-fetal position on the floor, in a pool of her own blood and vomit, with a gunshot wound to her head. He finds a .38 caliber handgun under her. This is when the 911 call was made. Xavier then wonders about his children, so he drops the phone and he goes to check on them. And on the 911 call, you hear silence followed by a distant, agonizing, gut-wrenching scream as he discovers his children. When he returns to the phone, he tells the dispatcher, "My babies are dead." Xavier found his eldest, Joey, who was 11, lying face up and covered in blood. He checked for a pulse but found none. He then entered Michael and Christopher's room, who were 8 and 5 years old, and saw them lying together in the bottom bunk of the bunk beds. Their faces were pale and neither were breathing. Xavier returned to the master bedroom and told the 911 operator that his children had been shot. He checked on his children again after finding that his baby Gabriel was alive and unharmed. Joey and Christopher weren't breathing. However, Michael was taking deep breaths. Xavier attempted CPR on Michael until a fragment of his skull came off in his hands. During Cora's trial, it was revealed that Christopher, who was sleeping next to Michael, sat up and was shot twice, as the first shot failed to kill him immediately. Cora shot herself in the head in a suicide attempt. She survived and underwent 2 brain surgeries to fix the damage the bullet caused. She claims she has no memory of the triple murders, which could be plausible. On November the 5th, 2001, so 2 years after the murders of her children, the jury found Cora guilty of 3 counts of first-degree murder. Initially, Cora pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, but on November the 6th, so 1 day after she was found guilty, she withdrew her plea. Then the penalty phase began on November the 27th, 2001. In aggravation, the prosecution presented evidence of prior acts that Cora allegedly committed, in which were multiple accounts of Cora being physically violent to Xavier, including a time that he needed eye surgery because Cora threw a jewelry box in his face, causing a retinal tear. In all of these incidents, Xavier stated he did not hit Cora. After the penalty phase on December the 10th, 2001, the jury returned a verdict of death. On April the 5th, 2002, the trial court denied a motion for a new trial and to modify the sentence. She was sentenced to death on each count of murder, with concurrent sentences of 25 years to life for firearm enhancements. It is a well-known story. A violent husband abuses his wife and others. The wife stays with him out of fear or shame, and in the end, the husband kills the wife or the children or both. We shake our heads and say, if only we could have protected her. Such is the scenario of the Socorro Caro triple murders. Except this time, the genders are reversed. Acknowledgement should be given that domestic violence is not a male affliction, but a human one. The Superior Court Judge Donald Coleman said, the fatal shootings had been willful, premeditated, and committed with malice aforethought. The brutal murder of these 3 children occurred in the sanctity of their homes. They had become sacrificial, symbolic pawns of a failed marital relationship. Cora is currently on California's death row at the Central California Women's Facility.